Good shot. Right where I wanted it. Oh, watch him, watch him. Watch him, watch him. See him right there. He's gonna go down right there. Perfect shot. He's going down. Ah, look at that. He didn't go 30 yards. He didn't go 30 yards. Whew, that's the way to do it. God, I can't believe it. You believe he came that close? Jeez. Oh, it's beautiful. Man, there's nothing like bow hunting. God.
If you like hunting, fishing, and the great outdoors, then come along today with Dave Embry in search of the world's greatest outdoor adventures. You'll go all over the world, from Alaska to South America, Canada to Mexico, in search of the most elusive and dangerous game in the world. This is Dave Embry's Adventures in the Wild. Come along today with Dave Embry as he crisscrosses North America in search of the most elusive and challenging game animal in the world, the white-tailed deer. We'll start off in southern Canada, where Dave will team up with Steve Olson and go after a lovesick old buck. Then it's up to Alaska with Mike Muncy and Tom Emerson for a bit of high mountain stalking for the Sitka blacktail. Next, you'll go up to Minnesota for a huge racked old whitetail that Dave takes with his .44 Magnum handgun. Then go down south to Georgia to sneak up on a couple of nice bucks by stalking with his rifle. After learning the how-tos of rattling and calling deer with Donnie Worthington, Dave takes a monster buck with a rifle, then brings down another old mossy horn with his bow down near Mexico in deep South Texas. And finally, we'll end our safari with an unbelievably fantastic bow hunt in southern Oklahoma for a huge high-racked old whitetail. So now, sit back and enjoy one of the most exciting and adventurous deer hunts ever to be captured on video as Dave Embry spooks out some of the most timid and elusive creatures of the shadows, the gray ghosts. Somewhere out there, he's there. He's been around with us for millions of years. And not as far away from you right now as you probably think. He's shy, he's intelligent, and he's elusive. In fact, he may be watching you at this very moment. That's why he's the Gray Ghosts. The white-tailed deer has always been known by hunters to be the most elusive and toughest big game animal to consistently bag. And it's no secret to the experienced woodsman how efficient their senses are at detecting danger anywhere near them. The whitetail could have easily been named Houdini or Casper for their uncanny ability to seemingly appear from nowhere or to vanish into thin air. All of us who've ever been on a stroll through the woods or field have possibly passed within mere yards of many big bucks before and never even known it. A smart old buck, knowing how well he blends into his natural surroundings, may stand motionless as one passes nearby, or he may slip quietly away towards his escape cover. It takes a trained and patient eye to catch the small flicker of a tail or turning of a head of the wily old buck, as they tend to just dissolve right in with their surroundings. Many times, all that can be seen will be a piece of the head, tips of the antlers, or just another small portion of the deer. Watch this buck turn into a doe. Does are usually less cautious and can sometimes even be seen grooming each other as they rid themselves of annoying ticks and burrs. Many times a deer may see or hear you, but with the wind not in his favor, he can't determine exactly what it is he senses. He may then slowly sneak around to the downwind side of you and positively identify you with his nose. The deer's eyes are probably their least effective sense, with their hearing and sense of smell being the most acute. A deer who's either seen or heard you may not immediately leave the area, but will be extremely alert to try to get your wind. However, a deer which has actually gotten your scent won't hesitate but will immediately flee the area. It's this lack of hesitation which makes the whitetail so hard to get. Therefore, wind direction is always the first consideration of all hunters who like to stalk deer or use ground blinds. When hunting with a bow, it's even more important since the deer must advance much closer to the hunter, unalarmed. Dave Embry, internationally known big game hunter and filmmaker, has hunted and taken some of the largest and most dangerous big game animals in the world. He's outlived a huge charging elephant, ran into the middle of huge herds of Cape buffalo, been charged by a lioness after taking a huge old lion called MGM, and battled with the North American king of the beasts, the Alaskan brown bear. Yet, of all the game animals in the world, he still considers the North American white-tailed deer the most challenging of them all. And you can bet you'll always find him near the woods come fall.
Well, sure is a pretty country, Steve.
Yeah, we escaped a lot of the drought this summer, so should be a pretty good deer season.
Been seeing a lot of deer around?
Quite a few big bucks, couple of 10 points, a couple of 12s, so.
Boy, it sure is beautiful through here. It's gorgeous.
Nice valley down in here. Not only that, but acorn crop has been good this year. And probably one of the best places that we can hunt is the oak ridges.
Well, it's big old buck's been rubbing on that one, hasn't it, Steve?
Yeah, that's probably one of those 10s or 12s that we've got around here.
Well, that's typically true. You know, a big old buck will usually pick a bigger tree to rub on. I appreciate you asking me up here. It's a beautiful country.
Yeah, it really is. We got a nice warm day today, and I think we'll have a good hunt.
We're about, what, 15 miles from the border?
Yeah.
U.S.-Canadian border?
Yeah, about 15 miles. So we've hunted this area for about 7 years, and I've taken a couple of pretty good bucks off and a couple of does too.
Well,
so.
you typically grow big bucks up here, I guess.
Good feed.
You've been leasing this land up here from these Canadians for a number of years,
yeah,
I guess.
Yeah, good feed, and especially this year, looks like a tremendous acorn crop.
Yeah.
So I would suggest that we hunt some of the acorn ridges because they like to run the tops and the edges of the ridges.
Right. Well, this is November, mid-November, and I guess they should be rutting pretty heavily up here by now.
Yeah, they are. Started about a week ago. In fact, right up behind us where we just walked, there's a nice scrape line up through here, and it runs back into the woods around the other side of the pond over there.
That's that area you're going to hunt up there.
Okay. But it hits both ends of us, you on that end and me on this end. So.
Good.
We'll catch both ends. And really tracking the does. I've seen a couple of bucks go right through the woods with their nose almost right down on the ground.
Lip curl up.
Yeah. And,
that's the ones I like to see.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you got some woods over here I'm going to go look at, and where do you think you're going to hunt at?
I'm going to hunt up here on the edge of the pines. There's a little pond over here that has an acorn ridge on the other side.
That's your favorite spot, huh?
It's got water and acorn.
Are you giving me the good spot now, or you push me off and then you're taking the sweet spot?
Well, we'll see what happens.
Okay, let's go do it.
Okay.
Boy, this is beautiful down there. Good spot, lots of acorns. And here, a good acorn hill on the top of a ridge. Deer like to run the tops of these ridges right here. It falls off right here below me. Right on top of this ridge is a good spot, I think. I'm gonna put my stand up in this tree right here. I can watch right down below here. Be good. It's all set up. I want to put a little bit of scent trail down. I don't like carrying scents on me because it leads it to the stand. I don't want the deer to my stand. I want the deer right away from my stand where I can shoot him. I'm gonna go up here and I've got a little bit of this doe and heat lure somewhere here. And I'm gonna keep one of these little tees they made with got a sponge on top that I've always found very good. I'm gonna put it right where I want him to stop. And if we're lucky, maybe it'll work. I'm just gonna put it down like it's the old doe walking through the woods here. Tree stand will be there. give me about a 10-yard shot, which would be nice, almost too close. That's a good opening right here. I'm gonna take this little stand, just gonna pour a little bit of this on the sponge, stick it right in the ground. Okay, put a little bit around it to cover up my scent. And we're set.
Sure enough, the scent trail worked, and it wasn't 30 minutes later that the old buck came sniffing through the woods with his nose stuck to the ground like an old hound dog. And Dave was ready for him. Let's watch this again. It was a perfect shot, with the arrow going down and forward to pierce both lungs and the heart. The arrow then passed through the opposite ribs and into the ground. That's perfect penetration, and it came from a 75-pound PSE bow using a Jim Jordy 2217 Supernatural arrow.
Going that way, it's a good hit. Okay, I hear him down over there, Okay, one thing I want to do now at this position is, first of all, calm down, quit your shaking nerves. And I've listened to the deer. After I made this shot, before I get in, what I want to do now is I want to mentally make a note and look where I shot that arrow, where that deer was standing exactly. It's right here from the stand. Because when I get down, I want to go try to find that arrow so I can see. I know that it went through the deer, so I'm going to go over and find the area so I can try to get some indication of where he was hit, even though I perceived it as hitting him just in through both lung areas. So I see now where he was standing when I shot. In fact, I think I see the end of my arrow from right here in the stand. Now, I listened to him when he ran off. I was very quiet. It's not time to jump up and clap yet. Listen for the deer. Try to follow him as far as you can through the woods, either by sight or by hearing, because the key thing here is to find this deer. He's not going to be killed by the shock of the bullet like a rifle hunter will be able to do, where you'll see a deer fall over. Here, when you're bow hunting, the deer may run some distance before he actually bleeds to death or suffocates from blood from a lung hit. So I heard him go down over here. I heard him run through and stop running, so hopefully I can't see the deer, but I see the area where he's at, so I'm going to mark it. I marked the time. It's about 2:15 in the afternoon. I want to give him it's a good solid hit. I want to give him at least about 30 minutes. That's the general rule of thumb. I know he's probably sitting right over there, but he may not be dead yet. He may be dying. It's best just to let him lay down and go to sleep, and it'll be all over with. So I'm just going to take my time now and get on down to the stand and wait my 30 minutes and then try to find my arrow over here. See something sticking out of the truck?
Oh, look at that. Oh, what is it, an 8?
He's 9 actually. Got one extra point over here.
Oh, that's beautiful. Where'd you get it?
Just back up what we were talking about. You showed me that place back up on the ridge of the acorns, where all the oaks were. Yeah, he came walking through there, hot on the trail. I put a little bit of doe scent out there, and oh, he was following that doe and heat trail right on down to my stand. Got about a 15-yard shot. It was fantastic. Don't come much better than this. Whew. Well, Steve, I appreciate you bringing me up here and let me hunt this Canadian territory. A big-bodied deer like he's probably gonna go what, a little over 200 pounds, I'm gonna estimate. Well, you don't have one for me to load up for you?
No, not tonight.
See anything?
I saw 2.
Good.
I saw 2.
Just didn't get within range?
Just bad shot, bad light.
You take a shot or it's just bad? You just couldn't get it?
Too far.
Well, I'm about ready for some dinner. Okay. Yeah!
Well, you know what they say, folks. It doesn't get much better than this. Steve even tagged one of those big 10-pointers early the next morning right out behind the old ranch house. Well, we better get moving because we got a long way to go for our next hunt, all the way to Alaska. After jet service to Anchorage and to the city of Kodiak, Dave hopped onto the float plane for another trip down memory lane. Taking off in the bush plane from Kodiak immediately began to bring back all the old memories of previous trips. There'd been many bush flights for Dave before, and he always loves that feeling he gets during the flights because he knows that it signals the beginnings of yet another great adventure. As he flew over the snow-capped mountains of Kodiak Island with the constant humming of the engines, his thoughts go back to his last trip to Kodiak Island, exactly 10 years ago. Then, too, he'd loved that trip out to the southwest tip of Kodiak. But after getting dropped off for a 10-day bear hunt, he didn't get to hear the humming of those engines again for 42 more days. He was stranded in Dead Man's Bay. Then, after being rescued, only to have one engine quit as he was climbing over the mountains. What a hunting trip. If they hadn't landed in Main Street of the Eskimo village that happened to be below them, he wouldn't be hearing those engines today, I'm sure. But maybe that's what hunting is all about. But today, every time Dave sees his little girl lying on that bearskin rug that was a remembrance of that trip, he goes back to Kodiak Island and Dead Man's Bay, to 32 days without food, to one-engine emergency landings in Indian villages, to the enduring friendship that was made there, and to the taste of that first meal of cheeseburgers, French fries, and Cokes. But here he is, back again. Hopefully, this time without all the problems of the last trip here. But if things should go sour again, well, I'm sure there will always be room in some dusty little corner of his mind for just one more page of memories. Well, I'm sure, like most hunting trips, that there will be some memories of this one, too. Hopefully, of a record-book blacktail. Since the Boone and Crockett Club has now made a separate listing for the Sitka blacktail, many avid deer hunters from around the world are now flocking to Kodiak Island, where the biggest of these deer are found. The largest racked old deer are found high up into the mountains, well above tree line. This offers greater opportunities for stalking, since you can normally see the deer from a much further distance. Now, let's join Dave high in the mountains with Mike Muncy and Tom Emerson.
Pretty good haul up here.
Yeah, it was a long ways.
It was beautiful.
Yeah, you can see a lot. You can see the whole basin there, and something will show up over there.
How many did you count, Tom, on the way up?
Looks like about 13 deer. Some
Yeah.
pretty good sized ones.
Big bodies on
Yeah, the bodies seem to be getting bigger and bigger all the time, too.
Seems like the last couple of years we've been getting some tremendous good sized deer on
Yeah.
big bodies.
Yeah, I think they go over 200 pounds,
Yeah.
don't you think? Some of the big bucks.
The racks are a little different. Yeah, I guess a lot of people would think that they look like a whitetail or a muley, but they've got actually a little smaller horn antler configuration.
Yeah. Well, they have that separate Scoring for Sitka blacktail.
Yeah.
Really makes it.
Speaking of
really
big
challenge.
Sitka blacktail, there's one right over here.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Over there?
right across this basin over there, just across this bowl on that side hill there. You see where those willows come down to that...
Yeah, that first one.
Yeah.
Sort of green there.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Right in there. He's kind of hard to see. You see him, Tom?
Yeah, I got
He's
him.
kind of hidden there a little bit in the willows. You can't
I
see
can
him too well.
Here I can see it's a little white.
Yeah, it just looks like his head sticking up there. Nice buck.
Yeah.
Look like Tom?
Yeah, he's about 800 yards.
Yeah, it's a long ways across there.
You
Well,
can see his antlers, and at this range, if you can see his antlers,
yeah, it looks like
got
part
to
of
be
the
a pretty good
trees there.
size.
Yeah.
Think
Maybe
he's
if
worth
you,
going after?
yeah, I would think so. It's going to be a long haul. Maybe we should scoot around this edge of the bowl here and kind of work across there and get up about his level, or maybe a little higher.
That little gray rocks are over
Yeah.
there, come across.
And then work across above him, and I'll try. I got a handkerchief here. I'll try and signal you and keep you, you know, in the general area and try and bring you.
It'll be sort of like you go to the left,
Yeah,
and maybe to my
I'll
left, or down, or up, or.
I'll signal where the deer is. The handkerchief will be the deer.
Okay. I got my binoculars in my pocket, so I'll just look back ever so often.
Yeah.
he's still
Okay.
bedded
We'll
down.
keep an
He's
eye on
still
him.
there.
Okay.
Kind of.
Okay.
All right, well, I'll
feeling
just
fed.
check back, keep checking back with you
All right.
once in a while. Probably take a good half hour, 45 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. Good luck.
Well, that's a pretty nice buck.
Yeah, it sure is. It's gonna take him a while to get across there.
Yeah,
Hope we
I
can
think
get across there in time.
Just looking the country over there, it's going to take him a little longer than he figured.
Yeah.
Well, I can see him now.
Yeah, it's been about 30 minutes now since he left. He's
He needs
finally getting out of that stuff. Yeah. Looks like he's above and to the right of him a little bit.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. Maybe give him a quick signal there.
Yeah. Tell me when he's looking, and I'll give him a signal.
Okay, he stopped.
Yeah, he's looking. All right.
Yeah. Okay, he sees it. He's going. Kind of a slow go.
Yep.
Well, that old deer, he sure perked up.
Yeah, he must be watching the. You think they're a whitetail over here?
Yeah. Looks like he's getting pretty close there.
Yeah, he's moving down pretty good.
Yeah.
Boy, you'd think you'd be able to see him by now. He can't
Yeah.
be more than 50 or 75 yards from him.
Yeah. Must be a bit steeper hill there than we figured.
Yeah, there might be a little bit of a rise there, or those willows might be a little higher than they look.
Yeah, it looks like it's only knee deep, the willows, but you still can't see that deer. Yeah, he's coming up on him.
Yeah.
Let's give him another signal.
Is he looking?
Yeah, he's looking now. To the left and down, same one. Okay, he sees it now. He's still moving.
Yeah.
He's starting to come up on him. Gosh.
Well, he's getting close. He should be able to see him by now.
Yeah.
He's gonna run right into him.
Wow. Usually those bucks that wind must be blowing pretty good up
Yeah,
there,
it
too.
must be. He looks like he's moving real slow. He must be really taking his time. But he's gonna spook that thing out of there any time.
Okay, he's looking now. He wants to know what to do.
Okay, give it another
Point
signal.
down. It's right underneath his feet.
Is he watching?
Yeah, he's watching now. Do it again. Okay.
Did you get it?
Yeah, now he's starting to move.
He's getting close.
He's about ready to step on that deer. He doesn't look like he's more
really
than 20
close.
yards away. Oh, there goes the deer. He's got it. He just jumped it.
Yeah,
And
there
there's
he
a
goes.
shot. Okay. That's
Yeah,
down.
he got it.
Yeah, he got him.
Good shot.
Boy, that deer was really moving out.
Yeah, he was right on top of him.
Yeah, he almost stepped on him.
Wow, you would never have thought Dave could have gotten that close to a deer, and a record book one at that. You saw how the buck stopped and looked back, but what you couldn't tell was that after the buck jumped, Dave whistled and got him to look back. Let's take one more look at that one. Notice how the buck stops, giving Dave just enough time to take aim and fire.
Yeah, Dave's signaling to...
Yeah.
He's going to go down that side of the gorge. It'd take us an hour and a
We
half.
might
to
as
get
well
there.
head on back down this way and just meet him back at camp.
Okay.
You ready?
It's a good shape.
Hey, nice
good.
one. Hey,
Nice buck.
good job.
Believe that?
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, very good.
Well, that was fun, huh?
He's a...
That was a long walk across
I
there,
couldn't believe he was right there in front of me.
Yeah.
I just couldn't see. I kept looking over the
Yeah,
brush.
yeah.
And I knew he was close.
Yeah,
but
we couldn't believe that you couldn't see him from there because it looked like you were just 10 or 15 feet. How close were you? It's hard to tell.
I think it was about 10 feet. Yeah.
Oh, man,
Well, I kept looking.
unbelievable.
Take the binoculars, and I would actually, look at the brush in front of me. And I was trying to find any little time, because you look like you're pretty excited there with that handkerchief.
Yeah.
And
You can see the handkerchief all right
yeah,
then, huh?
yeah,
Good.
good against that black surface.
Yeah.
But oh, I couldn't believe
Good.
it. He
That's a
jumped up.
nice.
Yeah, that's a.
What do you?
I think you scored
Yeah,
pretty
you
well
got
on
4
that.
on one side there. Not bad.
Think you'll make the book and get close?
Well, he can be close to it. We gotta have to measure him.
Yeah. I'll let the meat right back in the way.
Yeah, we can.
Heavy brush. I hadn't had a backpack, so
We can go back and get it in the morning.
Yeah. But
Yeah, nice.
that's nice.
Real nice.
Blacktail, very
you
nice.
bet.
Boy.
Very happy with it.
Good.
Good. Whew. Got dinner ready? That's a long walk.
Yeah, in fact, it's on right now.
Well, it just doesn't get much better than the... Oh, wait, we said that last time, didn't we? Well, let's just sit back and watch the sunset on our Alaskan trip and dream about big whitetails waiting for us in Minnesota, where we're going next. Minnesota's always been known for their big deer due to its northern latitude and colder climate. Dave just happened to know a farmer just a few miles from the Canadian border who invited him up for a go at one. His son Monty takes Dave to that hot spot where he's been seeing Mr. Big Rack.
It's a good spot. You've been watching this spot here on your ranch for a long time. It's good because it's got a lot of little hills and little cuts and valleys in here, and it gives us a good opportunity to sneak around and still hunt. We've had a lot of rain, so the leaves are really quieting down quite a bit. So the deer then are just going to sort of circle back around. They run down these trails right here, some major trails back in through the pastures, all back down in through here. They're coming back down and using these trails to cut through between their feeding and their bedding areas each morning and evening, and that's a good place to ambush one, don't you think?
Yeah, I'd say that'd be one of the better places to get him.
We'll sit here, if we see one, then we can try to sneak around. We've got so many good hills and draws, back in through here that we can work around and sneak up on one, I hope. If I get close enough, we'll use this pistol.
And sure enough, after several days of patient waiting, along he came.
Oh, Monty, look, there's one over behind me. Right back over behind me. See him up on the hill?
Yeah.
Is it a buck?
Looks like a pretty nice buck from here.
Good, just sit still. I don't want to turn around too fast. Just stand over the ridge there, just see the tips of his horns. I don't see him now, you see him? Go back over that dip.
I believe he's went back down over the dip.
Let's see if we can work our way back around. And which way is the best way to go?
I'd say come back over this way a little right here.
All right, let's go back over here. If we see him, we're going to have to stop almost, to freeze. Still don't see him. You see him anymore? Where does that go to back down through here? Is there a draw back down here?
Yeah, it goes way down into the draw and then up over another one.
Okay. He didn't see us. Leaves are getting a little noisy here, aren't they?
Yeah. It's drying out a little today.
Hold steady, fella, hold steady. I could shoot him with the rifle right now, but I'd rather shoot him with the pistol if he'll come on around.
He might go on down that draw. We might have to go over one more.
Okay. I can just barely see his antlers over there.
Yeah, he's
Just over the hill there, just over the hill.
just right out of pistol range.
Yeah, if I stood up, he'd probably see me too, I'll stay down. Yeah, he's still there. horns. You want to hold my rifle? We can get to where we can shoot this pistol. I'll shoot him with the pistol. If not, I'll grab that rifle. Let's see. He's just, if we stay behind, keep these trees between us right here. He's shaking his head there. Stay right behind me. We'll keep these trees right between us and him. Easy, easy. There he goes, Monty, where it is. He's headed. You just don't know it yet. Come on, fella, fall. He's down. He's going down. Here he is, here he is. Oh, look at that deer. Isn't that gorgeous? Make sure. Yeah, that's it. Holy smokes, look at this baby here. Just look at that rack. Boy, Monty is fantastic, fantastic. Nothing like shooting shot the 44 Magnum today, shooting a 210 grain silver tip hollow point. Seems to do the work, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I haven't had many people on my ranch shooting pistol like you do.
Takes a lot of practice and just being able to hold that thing steady. Boy, it's sure worthwhile when you take something like this with a handgun. It's just as much fun with a handgun as it was with a bow, I believe, almost.
Yeah, it puts a lot more of a challenge.
Put it there, bud. Thanks a lot. Enjoyed it. Fantastic hunt, fantastic deer.
He's a nice one. He'll look good hanging on in Dave's wall.
And you can bet that hanging on Dave's wall is where you'll find this monster buck hanging out these days. It's in the Piedmont area of Georgia where Dave will spend a few weeks by himself searching for a glimpse of a big buck. Still hunting, or stalking as it is commonly called, is a technique that has been used by deer hunters all the way back to the Indian days. For a beginning deer hunter, it will most surely be the least successful method of hunting deer, as it takes a great deal of woodsmanship and experience to actually sneak up on a wily old buck. To the experienced deer hunter, still hunting can be very successful and allows him to move about in the woods more freely. However, you must be extremely patient, move very slowly and quietly, and search each thicket and patch of cover for that deer that may be hidden there. Mag dropped him good. Oh, yeah. Pretty one, pretty one. Oh, boy. Yeah, he's nice. 8-pointer. Boy, he's got a wild tine right here. Pretty strange. Boy, it's nice. Pretty deer, pretty deer. Tell you, still hunting can really pay off. You can see how it just did just now. The secret, of course, is walking quietly through the woods and probably waiting longer than
you're actually walking, depending on how thick it is and how far you can see. You should never walk really more than what you can it takes just to see into the next little area. As I did here, I just walked through the woods, and I'd only take enough steps to where I could see something new that I hadn't seen before, and I would just stop and wait and be perfectly quiet. That's the secret to the still hunting. You can't go fast and you can't be noisy. Now, natural noises, the deer doesn't mind as long as you're walking like a deer does and not making any unnatural noises, such as pants that brush up. Jeans are great. Anything that's cotton or wool is great in the woods because when it rubs against the branches and the leaves, it just doesn't make that unnatural sound that the deer associate with as being unnatural. This guy never knew I was coming. He would hear a sound, but as long as I stayed back over the little ridge and behind trees, he really wasn't sure what it was. He never paid any more attention to me than anything. He's a nice average 8-point whitetail, and that's the fun way of doing it. It's much more fun than sitting in a stand, I think. Try it sometime.
Here's what happened earlier in the week. This was a time which called for quick shooting. Dave jumped the buck bedded in the thicket to the right here, and as the deer stopped to see what was making the noise, Dave downed him. It may look as if the deer was suffering. However, you'll notice that he never took a single step and appears to have fallen over and died in less than 15 seconds. This is the way you want to take an animal, if at all possible. Well, now I guess it's time for storytelling.
How was that deer hunt over there?
Got a nice 8-pointer. Nice 8-pointer.
Fantastic.
Did you hear that shot?
No, I didn't.
No, it was, that's probably a good 3/4 of a mile away from you guys.
Well, that swamp can muffle things over there a little bit. Two
Oh,
in
yes,
one
sir.
day,
Yeah.
a bear
Bear
and a deer.
and a deer. What a hunt.
Super.
Couldn't ask for anything any better. He's probably got a nice 16-inch spread on him. Pretty good 8-point deer. Not bad. I was just still hunting through there, and the wind kicked up and it was blowing probably 10 or 15 miles an hour. And so I could get through there, get away with making a lot more noise than I usually would. And, excuse me, and he sat there, and he kept looking back, but I kept getting behind a tree or something. He couldn't really tell what it was, and finally I got get enough twigs out of the way where we had a good shot, and that was it. He's about 185, 200 pounds body weight. He's about 200 yards that way.
That's why you're out here.
Yeah, I thought I'd cool it for a while, wait for
going
you.
like this. Okay.
Put my rifle in the truck.
Let's go.
Okay.
Next, go with Dave south to Texas in search of the massive antlered South Texas whitetail. Outside the small town of Carrizo Springs, just 30 miles north of the Mexican border, Dave will team up with Donnie Worthington, game biologist at the Tortuga Ranch. Here, in the midst of the rut, Dave and Donnie will attempt to rattle up some of those big antlered bucks out searching for a fight. So now, here's Dave to tell you more about the South Texas whitetails.
Well, when you think about fall hunting, you usually think about whitetail. When you think about whitetail, you usually think about those early morning treks through the woods by flashlight, tripping over every single log and getting stuck by every thorn bush and briar along the trail as you're going down to that tree stand. But something that's really getting popular and it's very exciting is what we call rattling. Down in Texas, especially along the Rio Grande, whitetail hunters have been calling them in very successfully for decades now. Down in deep South Texas, the rut, or the mating season, for whitetail doesn't get started until early December and usually runs till about mid to late January. This is the time that you want to rattle for deer, during the rut. To a deer, the commotion made by the antlers clashing, brush breaking, and ground stomping and wrecking can only mean one thing: bucks fighting for territorial rights to breed the does that are in estrus or in heat. This will sometimes bring in a few curious inferior bucks, just wanting to get a ringside seat. But it will nearly always bring in the dominant buck for that area. When he hears someone else out there fighting for his area, you can be sure he's going to come running to the scene to protect his territory. And when he comes in, you better be ready because he may not be shy, but comes charging in looking for a fight. Many bucks will come out and just stare at you. You see, they're really not sure what you are. If he can't smell you, and he can only see a part of your silhouette, and his ears are telling him that he should be seeing bucks there fighting, well, he's just sort of confused and stands there trying to figure the whole situation out. But then again, Mr. Big Rack may sneak up through the brush to size up his opponent, and then just a few yards from you, stick his head out around a bush, catch you off guard, and be gone just that quick. Rattling usually works best when there's a lot of competition for does by the bucks. If there are many does in relation to bucks, and the bucks are keeping quite busy and worn out tending the does, then he may not be interested in more and not respond to the rattling. But if there are relatively less does per buck, then there will be fierce competition between the bucks for the does. In any case, give it a try in your area sometime. At least it won't be as boring as sitting in a tree stand as it can sometimes be. It may end up being the wildest morning deer hunting you've ever had. Let's go now and let Donnie tell us a little bit more about those rattling horns. Well, Donnie Worthington, Tortuga Ranch. How are we going to do this expert deer calling today? Rattling these things in?
These South Texas deer are coming into rut right now. And really they're close to their peak, which means they'll just about come to anything. But we're going to try rattle them up a little bit.
Are these some special horns you made up? They look pretty.
Yeah, these are quite specialized for me. These are custom fitted. When you spend a lot of time rattling, you try and get something that doesn't beat your hands up, has good sound, good tone.
What are you looking for? I mean, you just
Well, this antler's a lot longer, and it's kind of the one I use for tone, and these longer tines here are more deeper tone. These shorter ones are lighter tone, so I can use them at different times. When a deer are just sparring, I try and work the ends of the antlers, make a little lighter sound, because when they're not fighting so hard, they don't make that, and they're afraid of the louder sound.
I see.
I try and work this antler into the other one, and just mimic the sound of two deer fighting. And if it's the time of the year when they're really getting after it, then you work the antler more into here, and the more you work it, the louder it comes.
Well, you're actually a game biologist, right? You're degree. What degree is that?
I have a Master of Science in Forestry, but it's in Wildlife Science.
How do you manage your deer herds here? What are you looking for whenever you do that?
Well,
spread, beam
spread's
width,
always big in South Texas, but in this particular area, spread is not that big a deal. It's more mass, and the way it's carried through the antlers, a good bit of tine length and a lot of mass in the tines denotes kind of an older deer. If you go further south down into Webb County, then you get a little more mass, but you lose the tines. And our deer actually score on the Boone and Crockett scale as well as theirs do, but they're not quite as wide.
Right.
But the record book deer that we killed is he doesn't have but a 19.5-inch inside spread, and he's only a 10-point, so he has tremendous mass and length. But that's what I look for. I'll never cull one because he's a little too narrow. I mean, because if you're looking at a 16-inch buck that's 4 years old, he's probably going to add a few more inches in the next year when you go to take him anyway. So you're looking at an 18, 19-inch buck, and that's a good buck. Yeah. Anybody's buck.
Well, me, that's what I love, mass. Mass is what I really like to see, some real mass.
Now, that's me. I like the mass and the height and the spread. I would not sacrifice the spread for the mass, because that's really what sticks out on a deer. That's what you can see.
Donnie, what's that you got in your pocket there?
Oh, this is a grunt call. That's something new that everybody's been using. It's one of the vocalizations that deer make at different times. I use it as kind of an attractant and what I call a stopper. If a buck's starting to leave, and when you rattle him in and he comes in on the edge and he's not real excited about coming to the horns, then sometimes you can grunt him to make him get more attracted to the horns and come on in. Or if you got a big buck, a lot of times big bucks will come in and leave.
Sort of calms them a little bit,
yeah,
too. They might hear that.
It's something that they associate. And buck deer do it. I've heard does do it occasionally. But that we use it a lot. If a big buck comes in and he's starting to leave, we'll grunt and stop him just in time for the hunt to shoot. You know? That's kind of what, that's really the reason I carry it. And it is kind of a
Give me a little
natural
sample.
deer.
How you do it. Of course, you don't use it a whole lot, do you? Just
No, I don't use it, and when you use it, you don't ever blow it real loud. It's always something that the deer, it's kind of a mutter, and sometimes it's even guttural when it comes out.
Okay.
Well, Donnie, then we're going to sit here like we've been here talking for a few minutes, but we'll wait a few more minutes and we'll start rattling these things up. And I guess these deer are so much in heat and in love at this time of the year that they just sort of run over you, so we can almost We can't move around and carry on quite a bit, but you're telling me that they'll just come in and just run over you sometimes, no matter what you're doing. So that's what we'll get ready to do here, and go ahead and get with it. We're just gonna watch around the little bushes and stuff around and see if we want to poke his head out of them. Okay. They usually come in pretty quick or slow, or?
It depends. Depends on how much in love he is. If he's really in love and he's really protecting his territory, he's got some fresh scrapes by, he really will just run over you. I've had them come in as close as 10 feet from me. But most of the time they'll come in and they'll peer into the edge of these senderos and check it out a little bit and try and circle you downwind. But sometimes they will just run over you when they come in.
Yeah, he's a little bit smaller, don't you think, Donnie?
Yeah, I think it's just a 3-point.
Yeah, there he goes, back in the brush.
Stopped him.
He sort of came out and took a little look there, didn't he? I thought I heard some snorting over there to his left. Here he comes back out. Comes back out. You called him back in. You got him back out. Probably just hoping the whole bunch was not really people. He wanted to see a doe. There's some bucks there, some buck does around. I saw the spot. I kept looking at it. I already picked the binoculars up.
Not a whole lot of height. Not much height.
Some of those horns on top of her head.
Would you like to see him? You hear that?
Well, I guarantee you. Coming up and around for the first year. Oh, there he goes. Here comes that act. Well, pretty good. Seen all these deer here this morning already.
That's a little more encouraging, isn't it?
Yeah, they seem to be rattling in good this morning. How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 this morning right here, just one spot.
See, these things do work.
Yeah, yeah. Right at the edge of the brush. Right at the edge of the brush. Oh, look at the mass. Look at the mass on him. Oh, my goodness, he's heavy. That's a taker there. That's a taker there. Stay in there, fella. Stay there. There's a loop. Yeah, there's another one beside him. He's in the brush, though. Boy, you can barely see him. He's got to come out a little bit more before I can do anything. That's a long shot. We're probably a good 210, 220
Yeah, you're over 200.
yards. You come out of that brush. Come out of that brush, right? All right, back edges, but all I can see is his neck. Okay. Good shot. Hit him. Look at that. Good I don't believe it. He's still, he's in the brush. He's down in the brush.
Good shot.
I saw him drop. I guess he's still down.
Yeah, he's down.
Okay, we better get down there and see, I guess. What it looks like.
He's down.
All right, let's go.
Excellent.
Well, we'll see if he's still there. Still down there. Oh, look, rabbit. Thought the rabbit would have run off and scared us. Well, I heard a hard hit. I know it hit him. I saw him go down for a minute anyway. So.
He's down. I don't think he can go too far anyway.
Okay, son.
Good deer.
Boy, hope he's still there.
Yeah, he's not.
Well, I shot for his neck, so hopefully that's probably what dropped his feet.
He's down. He went down. Like 8 in mass.
Yeah, that's where I was impressed with, was the heaviness of him.
And dog catchers.
Look at him. Look at that mass on him. Oh,
deer.
gorgeous, gorgeous.
Good deer.
Gorgeous deer.
Good deer, Dave.
Lordy.
Excellent shot right in the neck.
Sure it is.
Excellent.
That was a little shaky offhand like that, I tell you. Yeah, he's good. Oh, look at that deer. Oh, my goodness.
Excellent deer.
Look at this guy.
Nice deer.
Looky here. Look at how he's been rubbing.
Yeah. He's polished these almost white right here just
boy.
today. That's some of today's work.
Well, you tell by his neck, I guess, Donnie, you say he's pretty much well into the rut, right?
Yeah, he's definitely been running for several days.
How else can you tell when in a rut with their musk glands down here?
Yeah, the antlers, rubbing on the antlers, and then the glands, the tarsal glands, they urinate on these, and these have been well worked. See the stains on the leg?
Oh, sure are.
They'll be a little whiter and more gray whenever they're not working them so heavy. But he has definitely been working some scrapes with these.
That's where they'll go on, they'll scrape the ground, and actually he'll come back and urinate on his musk glands.
The spot.
And that's just sort of a clue into the does in that area that I'm here and ready. And
marks his territory, and when the doe's receptive, she'll come by and urinate in the same spot, and before you know it, they'll be together running around.
That's great. Make more big bucks like him.
Yeah, he was probably looking for the fight that was fixing to take his female away out there. Yeah. He wasn't about to let that happen, and it cost him.
Look how beautifully symmetrical they are here.
He's really got some long beams.
That's a good what? It's a good probably 23 outside, probably a good 21 on the inside at least.
Nice deal.
Oh.
Carries his mass all the way to the end of the antler.
Sure does. That's amazing.
Lots of length in the brow tines.
What an animal. That's what it's all about right here.
That's right. That's an excellent deer.
Donnie, thanks a bunch.
You bet.
Nothing like hunting whitetail deer in South Texas.
Nothing like it.
About 15, 20 miles from the border. Mexico. Woo, let's get him home.
All right, let's do it.
Donnie, look, there's a deer right up by our blind.
Well, there's so many deer down here on the Mexican border that Dave can't even get one loaded up before the others come walking by a stand. This must surely be deer hunter's heaven. It's been such a great hunt that Dave talks Donnie into another hunt the following year, just before the main rut. However, next time Dave decides to bring his bow along instead of his rifle. There will be no more 216-yard shots like this one. Donnie's about to take Dave out and show him some hot spots here on the ranch and see if they can find one good enough for Dave to set up a ground blind. Since this country is comprised mostly of mesquite and cactus, there aren't too many good trees around in which to set up a stand. Donnie's Texas-style blinds which are built on metal poles, were designed for gun hunting and are much too small to draw a bow inside. The Tortuga Ranch is one of the finest in all of Texas and owned by Bruce and Irene Weaver of Houston. Bruce has a great interest in the management of good whitetail herds on his ranch and employs Donnie Worthington as the wildlife biologist here. Both Bruce and Donnie are from Texas, and you know what they say about Texas, that everything's big here, including ranches, deer, and their love for hunting. Why, they've even developed and made famous a form of rifle shot known as the Texas heart shot. It does the same thing as a regular old heart shot, it's just that it comes from a different direction. Well, let's see how Dave plans to bag this South Texas gray ghost.
It's a lot nicer and greener this year than it was last year.
Yeah, it's
This time of year a little earlier.
Here we had some good rains at the right time. This is,
So that's where they're traveling over there, huh?
yeah, right on the end of this sendero, they've got kind of a travel corridor that they use going into some oak fields. And I think with an overcast day like we got today, it'll be
A good day. Huh. Well, there's a, with this bow, I know you got that tree stand over there, or not tree stand, you got that blind built up over on the ground over there. There's not any tree stands in Texas. If it is, you'd be sitting on the ground anyway.
Yeah.
And you got this one over here.
Yeah. Now, these are going to be a little far for your bow, so we'll set you in here somewhere and try and get you like a 20, 30-yard shot, something like that.
Okay.
Like I say, I think most of the deer will travel this corridor somewhere between here and this edge of this timber here.
Well, this is hunt this evening, so for the first time, and where they fit this, they're traveling right here in the evenings, and you've got some oat fields over there planted.
Yeah, we planted a good many oats, and they're going in here, and with a day like today, they're probably going to come a little early since it's a little overcast. They'll stage up before they move into the field.
Good.
A little frontal activity going on.
So we need to catch them going between their bedding. We're bedding mostly all back in through this stuff, but mostly in some little light fish.
There's real heavy timber off on this side. It breaks up as it goes in this ridge over here. And what they'll do is they'll travel right down the edge of this timber. As they move on in, like I say, stage up right before they go into the oak field. So I think it'll be a little productive here before it gets too dark.
You think I ought to go ahead and try to rattle a little bit, just to sort of hold them or pull them in this way?
Yeah, it's pretty rut. It wouldn't hurt. I wouldn't give it any major action, but just kind of tickle your antlers a little bit and maybe use a grunt call very sparingly.
Let me, let's see, I've got my antlers here. So just sort of take them, just sort of.
Yeah, just real slight. Bucks won't be in a real hard rut right now. Just barely tickle them, just like two deer, just kind of push-pull match. You know, nothing really making dominance.
A lot of this kind of stuff.
Aggressive behavior right now, but not much.
Just sort of pushing each other around, seeing who's got the biggest antlers. You know, walking.
Just kind of playtime, really, is about what it is to them right now. They're not seriously. I can see over on this brush here, they've been moving their antlers around the brush, breaking a little brush down.
Let's take a look and see. Yeah, but at least, you know, with the antlers, even if I'm not calling them in, I might can sort of attract them because they're so curious. The whitetail's so curious anyway. At least we might can bring him this way and make sure he uses this trail. But
yeah, I think you can do that pretty easy. Like I say, he's definitely been working here recently, and we've seen some good bucks in this area. So hopefully it'll be productive for you.
Okay. Well, this would be a good bush, I think, because we're probably 20 yards or less.
That's about 20 yards.
I'll step it off in a minute before I shoot to be sure I know exactly how far it is, along with a lot of other. What I usually do is take my rangefinder and once I get in my position, I sort of spot several places with my rangefinder in advance, because usually when you see a deer, you're not going to have time to pull your rangefinder out and make all this motion and all this kind of stuff.
Especially if you stand there looking at you.
Right. Well, these deer aren't used to seeing people sitting on the ground anyway.
No, that's true.
They probably watch these two blinds up here where you got for gun hunters all the time.
They do get used to a permanent blind, so I think you have the advantage being on the ground here.
Okay. Plus, in rattling, when you're rattling, they won't be as spooky if they do see me sitting here, because they're really expecting to see something sitting there. And
well, your full camo, they may see your hands move and your antlers move, but they won't associate that with anything that's really threatening. It's more curious, you know. They kind of stand and look at you a little strange.
Yeah. So you can get away with a whole lot more.
Oh yeah, you get away with a lot.
Let's grab this thing here.
Get you on this downwind side.
Okay.
Be able to hunt this a little better.
I got a little bit of cover scent which we'll use, which you have to be sort of careful. What I got is some stuff you saved for me, which is some bobcat. We got a lot of bobcats around here, so you saved a little bit of bobcat urine for me, so I can just sort of put it out to cover it a little bit. But
good cover scent. I wouldn't try any doe and heat or anything right now.
Right, a little too early. Well, I'm gonna use a full head net here, and some camo gloves. Yeah, and we'll put the gloves on. These are just real thin. We're still nice and warm down here in Texas on the 5th of December, but these are just some real light, thin gloves, which make it good, and you can shoot through the fingers and pull back. So let's see. Let me get the bow. Well, let's see if we can get this dude up in here. Probably if I just sit up next to the edge of it here, where I can see through there good.
That way you can use this tree to break yourself up. And most time, if they're going to stop and look, they'll stop right as they stick their head out. Once they start across, and you may want to grunt, you stop them, make them look at you. And then take your shot.
Okay, yeah, I've got my grunt. I like these for bow hunting. Let me get my bow. For bow hunting, what I typically like to do is to carry a swivel back chair, or not back, but a swivel seat chair like this. And because what it makes it, you gotta make sure you got enough room. But what makes it nice is I can set the bow right here on the edge of this chair. And what that actually does is a couple of things. One is you can take this bow, you see what, look at me, you see what that is? Yeah. That's breaking up my silhouette and my outline of my actual head and all too, which sort of breaks up your human outline, which is what they're looking for. Plus, excuse me, whenever you're in this position, if he comes out there, for example, all I'm gonna do, I'm gonna have my arrow knocked on the string and ready to go. All I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna just basically stretch my arms and draw straight back just like this with the least amount of motion possible. And preferably when the deer's got his head down or is looking the other way. But even if I'm rattling, you know, I'm just going to drop those horns down here and on the ground. And when you're rattling, I'll probably do a little of this anyway, you know. But that makes a good cover.
Don't get too violent with it, it won't spook him out.
That way when I drop those antlers on the ground, he won't even think anything of it. We see him.
We've been seeing a few and scrapes around, so that's, I'd say that would probably be in order.
Okay. Well, we'll got my antlers. Let me get my rangefinder out of the Jeep here, and so I can shoot some stuff. And what do you do? Run back and just pick me up around dark?
Yeah, I'll just wait on you. It wouldn't be any good for me to be anywhere in this area. I'll come back, say, right at dark, and if you got one you need me to help you track him, we'll track him down.
All right. Well, typically I won't shoot. Bow hunting, I typically won't shoot. I usually give myself at least 45 minutes before dark.
It's a good idea. This brush is real heavy in here.
But you know, it's not like rifle shooting too, where normally with a rifle you might find a buck laying and drop him in his tracks or very close. Sometimes if you don't get quite the shots you want on the bow, you may have to track him a little bit longer. I like to give him a little extra time. Plus, you know, to sit first, so before I start tracking. So.
Well, I'll come back right at dark.
That'd be
help you pick the big boy up.
That'd be good. Let me get this rangefinder out.
Sure enough, Donnie was right. About 1 hour later, the deer started moving. This is certainly a fine 8-point that anyone would love to have. Look how nice his antlers sweep up at the tips of the main beams and how symmetrical they are. However, the buck has come out on the opposite side from where Dave and Donnie had anticipated, and it's impossible for Dave to turn and shoot through the heavy brush. The wind is calm, but the buck definitely appears alert as he slowly disappears toward the oat fields. Dave starts rattling again, and little does he know that there's an even larger, more massive buck nearby.
Right here in the middle of the thing right here, and I just knew she was going to blow the whole deal. Whew. It was a good hit. I know it was a good hit. I'll walk down here and see if I can find the blood anyway. See how the blood trail is. So you want to give him good 20 minutes or so. Here's the arrow right here. Yeah, it went all the way through him. I tell you, this little bow really zips them out. If you get a good shot, and even if a lot of times you go through the rib, it'll even break it out. You can see there, went straight through him. Still dug into the ground. Of course, that's plowed ground, but it's not bad at all. Well, that's good. We got a good blood trail. Okay, here's his blood. That's where he was standing. Whew. Good red lung blood. Good red lung blood. Whew. That's what we're looking for. Good lung blood. Well, how you can tell that it's lung blood is how frothy it is. Look down here and see the blood. See how frothy it is? It's all got little air bubbles and real pink spots in it, like here. That means you got good lung blood. Whew, that's exciting. It looks like when you see the lung blood like that, then you know he's not going to be very far. You got a good hit. Just wait him out and don't push him. He's going to drown from the blood inside of his lungs really soon. He won't be far. We're waiting a little bit. Let it get a little bit. Let him go lay down somewhere. Make a note of the time. You ought to give him about 30 minutes. I wasn't far. I was only about. I figured about 17, 18 yards from the deer, so it was a good hard shot. I know where it hit him. I watched the arrow go through. That's what's good about these yellow fletchings again. These yellow fletchings are really good for that because you can just pinpoint your shot where it was at. We'll wait just a few minutes here and, whew, that's exciting. Man, that was good. He's a nice buck. He's only got 3 points on one side. He's got 4 on the other, so he's not quite 8 points, not real symmetrical. Boy, he's got pretty mass. If you can see close up, he was so close to me, I could see he actually had been rubbing. He's actually got pieces of the bark from the trees, from his mesquite trees that he's been rubbing on. So he's already starting to get into the rut a little bit. It's early. We're in South Texas. It's early. This is the 5th day of December. The rut here really usually gets in full swing somewhere around the middle of the month, so we're a little bit early for the full primary rut, but he's been out doing a little rubbing anyway. Whew, that's great. Look at that. Just find a nice place to sit down and relax. Try to calm the nerves. Whew, that's great. Well, it's been about 25 minutes now. I know he's down somewhere near. Let's just go ahead and we'll follow him. It's starting to get a little bit dark. One thing about bow hunting you got to be careful of. Remember, as a bow hunter, everything's harder than it is with a rifle. You've got to wait a little bit longer, and you can't, before you go chasing the buck, and you're probably going to have to follow a blood trail for a little ways. So you want to be very careful and don't shoot a buck too late where you can't find him. If you're in an area where it looks like it may rain, like it does here, it may possibly rain tonight, I can't afford to leave this buck out here overnight, hoping that the blood trail will still be here tomorrow. And of course, it's easier to follow when it's fresh and the blood is still bright red. So we're going to go ahead and get on it right now and try to get him before it gets too much darker. I'm just going to follow from blood speck to blood speck. I'm in open country. It's good. A lot of times you can take toilet paper or sticks or something if you're by yourself and mark the last part of blood that you saw, because you don't want to lose the blood trail. If you go wandering around looking for more blood, you might lose where your last blood trail was and end up getting lost and have to start back over. So I'm going to keep my eye on the last blood speck until we find him. Also watch for tracks, watch for movement in the ground. You can see here where he's run across, there's actually dug in. A running deer makes a lot different print. So we've got blood there. Here he is back over here, right there. Oh, he's nice. Oh, look at him. Whew, blood good. Oh, this is probably his home back in here. He knows every trail in here. Stopped right here. Lots of blood right here. You see where he stopped, slowed down, stood. Oh, yeah, he's in it. Oh, he's gorgeous. Yeah, he's in it. Yeah, he's dead. Oh, right where I want it, just a little bit high. I'd like to have it just a little bit lower. That's gonna be too high for the heart, but it's about the right size. But look at him. Whew. That's what it's all about right there, partner. See what I was telling you about? Where he's rubbing his horns? Yeah, man. He's got 2 on this side, plus his eye guards, brow tine, and 3 on this side. What I was looking about, I really liked about this buck, was how he was rubbed off on the tips. He's got this ivory tips. He's got real dark antlers, but the tips are really wide, are really whitened up. Let's see, I got white on my mind. Let's see what we got here. That's 18. I got 9-inch spread. That's 18 right there. And that's about another, right at 20 and a half inches, I would say. Not a bad buck for a bow any day in anybody's book. Look at him. And he's heavy, too. He's a heavy old boy. It's great. Don't get any better than this bow hunting. Whew. Then we'll gut him and drag him back. Oh, just in the right time as the sun slowly sets in the west in South Texas, 15 miles from the border. Couldn't get any better. Yeehaw!
Well, as the sun sets in the west in South Texas, let's head a little farther north up to Oklahoma, near the Texas and Arkansas border. Here, Dave's been looking an area over for some time now, and he thinks he's got a big buck located.
When you're out, before you go out and find a good place, of course, everybody's heard about rubs, everybody's heard about scrapes. And the most important thing about the scrapes is it identifies that area as containing a buck deer. When you're looking for a scrape, what do you want to look for? Let me show you one. This is the area that I've been scouting. I've been watching it for 2 weeks now. I'll show you the scrapes that I've been watching. He's been keeping them cleared out. He's definitely heavily in rut, because when they're in rut, they'll constantly keep these scrapes cleaned out, coming by, checking them, leaving urine and their musk scent on the scrape, waiting for the doe to come along, that if there is a doe in estrus or in heat, she'll come by and hopefully she'll urinate in the spot too, and also wait nearby somewhere where he'll come by and be able to pick up the doe. Here's the one you can see here. In fact, you can see the footprints even in here where they've come back across the scrape. There'll just about always be, I'm being careful, I don't want to touch this stuff in my human setting more than possible. There just about always will be a low-hanging branch overhead. That's where the buck will normally come in and rub his orbital glands right above his eyes and below his antlers across this limb to leave his scent, to mark this as his scrape. Any other bucks coming in the area that were to use this scrape, then he would come in and smell them, and that's where he might be looking for a fight. Now, in the scrape here, you can see where he's cleaned this area out. Around here, he's taking the leaves and the debris, and he'll come by and he'll keep it cleared out. If you look here, you'll also see some tracks. Well, these are actually doe tracks here. This is too small for a buck track, so there's been doe in here, and actually have walked in it most likely. I don't see a damp spot, so it's been a while. This is in the middle of the afternoon now. But the doe is probably urinated in the scrape also to leave her scent and let the buck know that she is actually in estrus and ready to mate herself. And it's probably not too far from us right now. And see what this buck has done, and typically this is where an area that you'll usually find a buck like to leave his scrapes. There's a little small clearing right here. And this small clearing will be some of the last bits of green vegetation that's not into the woods. They can actually come out and just fringe on the edge of the woods and still get a little bit of the browse that they're looking for. Typically what they'll do, you can faintly see there's a trail going right straight through the middle of this thing, a major trail right straight through the middle here. These trails are used as major travel ways by these deer that are used in this area, going from their bedding areas over to the place where they're feeding or drinking. Right along the edges of them, you'll usually, if you look for the scrapes, right along the edges of the woods, where the woods come out into little openings like this, is a very good place for scrapes. Just like this one right here is. They've come right down the trail through the woods here, come along here. Now, if you walk back right down along with me down this way, they've actually used the trail right along through here. And back in the thicket over here, there's another one. Right in here, underneath this tree, there's another scrape right here. And on back into the woods, back through there's a whole line of scrapes that he's using. So this buck is working this area. He may be making a 1 mile swing through here, and A lot of times when they're in the rut too, they won't even be interested in feeding that much. They're mostly looking for the does. But if the does are over in the feeding areas and coming back and forth, he's going to be where the does are. If he's getting some interest in his scrapes, then he's going to come back by his scrapes and check them very often, especially if he's picked up that doe and heat scent. What's good, when you find your scrapes like this, look through the woods until you do find scrapes. That's where the bucks are at, where the scrapes are at. It's just like flying into a busy airport. If you want to find where there's a lot of airplane traffic in the air, go over an airport. All the planes are crossing at the airport, landing and taking off. It's the same thing here by a deer scrape. This is where the activity of the bucks are going to congregate. He's going to be coming to his scrapes very often to check them. So find you some good scrapes and then get you a place nearby. Now, if you want to use a tree, that's fine. I do a lot of hunting out of the tree. It's still probably the most successful method you can use. I'm going to set up right over here. There's a very thick thicket of briars and all right in here, which is not very far away. It's very thick. It's a lot of intertwangled material in through here, branches. I'm going to go sit right back up in here where I'm going to sit and try to take the deer right back up in this area. Hopefully then if the deer comes back down across this way, runs his scrape line, he'll come back out and hopefully I can get a shot. If I get a shot from right here at this scrape, if he checks this scrape, I wouldn't be more than 6-8 feet away, yards away from the deer. At that scrape over there, I will take out and check it out. Say we're about 30 to 35 yards away. But what I'll do before I set up is I'm going to get over here. I'll take my rangefinder out, or I can step it off, and I can mark these areas in my mind mentally, and I'll know exactly how far that tree is, or that tree is, or that scrape is, or that scrape is. So whenever the deer comes in view, I'll know my yardage, I'll know my range, and I'll be able to select the correct pin to shoot the deer at. So hopefully we're going to get in here this afternoon and try it, and in the morning, and we'll just keep trying it until he comes along. But as often as he's working it, he'll be back.
Well, after getting all the special camera blinds and equipment in place, Dave waits 2 days in his briar patch for the buck. He's been working the scrapes mostly at night, it seems. However, on the 3rd day, we got lucky, and just watch what happened.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he's a nice one, too. He's coming this way. He's coming this way. Come on in, come on in, come on in. Come on in. Okay, stay calm. Come on out a little more. Gosh, you stopped right behind that bush. There he comes right towards me. Coming right towards me. Jeez, I don't believe this. Oh, maybe 10 yards away from him right now. Only way he can see me is if he sees my bow shaking. There's a good shot right there. Good shot. Good shot. Right where I wanted it. Oh, watch him, watch him. Watch him, watch him. See him right there. He's going to go down right there. Perfect shot. He's going down. Ah, look at that. He didn't go 30 yards. He didn't go 30 yards. Whew, that's the way to do it. God, I can't believe it. You believe he came that close? Jeez. Ah, it's beautiful. Man, there's nothing like bow hunting. God. We're going to sit here if I calm my breath down. It's 8:20 in the morning. He went down. I saw him go down. I'm going to give him just a few minutes. Let him sit down just to be sure he dies. But he went down, I saw him go down right there on the ridge. He's not far away at all. That's great. Nothing like it, man. Nothing like it. That's fantastic. Oh. I can't believe it. God. Walked right here in the opening. He worked his way around back through the backside of these woods back over here and came right back out. I couldn't believe it. Got in position, but all this stuff right here in this camouflage, there's no way he saw us. You notice I was sitting with the bow like this with my head behind it. What that does is, you see, it breaks up your outline quite a bit so that, you know, you're not having the man-like silhouette, but you're actually having this bow in front of you, and all these lines breaks up your silhouette, so it really helps to conceal you when you're in brush like this. If you get down here, you can see how much brush there is in front of me. By remaining absolutely motionless, there's no way that deer saw me. Oh, it's fantastic. That's what it's about there. Oh, fella, he has really been rutted out. He is really not in very good shape. He's been in the rut for a long time. We've seen all his scrapes down through here. He's been working the scrapes a lot. You can see how slender he's gotten. He's really worked himself up to skinny. He hardly has any tenderloin at all on him there. Doesn't get much better than this. We've got to get this guy back and butcher him out. Some good eating to be done here in a couple of days. Whew, fantastic.
Well, folks, we certainly hope you've enjoyed watching Gray Ghosts as much as we enjoyed making it. Dave spent over 4 years in the woods producing this video and has shown you the best of the best. If you liked all the deer you've actually seen here, you should have seen all the gray ghosts that disappeared before cameras could be switched on. We know it's not possible for everyone to go to exotic, faraway places and hunt elephants, lions, and bears. But thanks to conservation efforts in America by none other than the hunters, everyone can now enjoy hunting or watching the magnificent whitetail. Through the Pittman-Robertson Act, hunters have voluntarily contributed almost $2.5 billion towards the conservation of America's wildlife through special taxes assessed on firearms, ammunition, and archery equipment, and were allocated by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service solely towards the conservation of wildlife and its habitat. Without these special taxes and efforts by hunters, not only would it most likely have been impossible for Dave to have produced this show you've seen today, but there would probably be no hunting by hunters, wildlife to see by nature lovers, or animals in our national parks and countrysides for our grandchildren to see. So on behalf of Dave Embry, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and all of those in America who today enjoy our abundant wildlife, I just want to say thanks for restoring America's wildlife population to all-time record highs. Thanks.
I like to know that big black bears still roam the forest floor. I like to know wild turkeys strut and gobble as before. That racing, graceful antelope still run the grassy range, and dancing prairie chicken boom and stamp across the plain. I'd like to visit meadows with herds of bugling elk. I'd like to stand with bighorn sheep upon their rocky shelf, to see the wood duck settle down, see beaver and much more. I'm so proud of what we've done, America's wildlife to restore. I want to teach my children how the natural world abounds with cooing gobbling, booming, let them hear the many sounds. Somehow I've got to teach them that the music of the wild still echoes in the scheme of life for woman, man, and child. I like to think of wildlife as time goes racing by, when days fly off like leaves are tossed and blown against the sky. The deep and secret rhythm of creatures who abide in the forest, river, desert, cross this continent so wide. Yes, the deep and secret rhythm of the wildlife that still roam in mountains, valleys, meadows, across America, our home.